Good morning. Uh, it feels so strange to sit on this side of the camera in a different way. Uh, but I wanted to thank Kath Ann and Martha for kind of stepping in and rearranging things so that we could do this way. And I also hope that I don't have a coughing fit here at some point during this, because I wanted to lead us on a guided meditation as part of the sermon. And in part, the sermon that I had in mind today was born during our spiritual growth and transformation group last Wednesday. And part of what we talked about is how, when we go inward, why is it that we don't always like what we see, or if there's that part of us that's inside of us that is very dark or very difficult, we have a hard time accepting that part of ourselves. And as I was contemplating that this last week in preparation for this, and especially with this reading that I chose, I felt like we have to acknowledge that we live lives where there's a lot of brokenness and pain. And there's one response to that, which is we can reject that pain. We can reject the parts of ourselves that are a little bit dark or a little bit difficult for us, where we get angry or something like that. But as I was reading over my notes this week, I received an email to a newsletter that I subscribed to that talked about kintsugi, which is a Japanese form of art that acknowledges it's very difficult for us to produce a very perfect piece of art. And the example that the article gave was of a vase. And a lot of times when you create a vase and you put it in the kiln to fire it, some unexpected things can happen. So it can sometimes break or crack or fall apart. There's different colors that you put in the kiln that may not turn out to be the color that you want. And so you have to be able to deal with the unexpected. And one of the ways that they Japanese artists deal with the unexpected, especially with pottery and some of the more refined pieces of ceramics, is they use gold to mend them. And they use gold to, it becomes a part of the art itself. So this seemed like a really good metaphor for us as human beings to look at those different parts of ourselves that feel very broken, that feel, that there's something missing or that there's something less about us. And the fact that the world can sort of pick at that kind of brokenness, kind of make us feel weak or make us feel less than something, it doesn't really have that meaning. In other words, we are already whole human beings. We're trying to overcome a perception of ourselves that may have been given to us by the world, not the truth of who we are. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a guided meditation sort of based on that broken vase. And the way the meditation starts is we come into a room in which we expect to see a work of creation or a work of art. And somehow when we enter into that room, it's already broken in pieces on the ground. So I'd like to invite you to kind of sit quietly, close your eyes if you want to, and just listen to my voice as I describe that experience of coming into that room and see where it might take us as we look at that broken vase and at the same time look at ourselves. So take just a second to center yourself, and then I'll begin. Imagine a room that has a table, maybe with a white tablecloth. And in the center of this table, a vase of many colors was once sitting in the center of this table, and it's been broken. Not just cracked, but shattered, where there are multiple pieces on the table. And the pieces are small and big, different shapes, different colors. There's bright colors, there's dark colors. There are strange mixes of colors that on their own look strange and hard for us to appreciate. Some of the pieces are very small, and some of the pieces are large. And imagine that it's our job to put that vase back together. And in putting that vase back together, we know that we can't leave out a single piece. That every piece in that vase is necessary for us to recapture the wholeness of that vase. So those strange colors that are in the vase that we don't appreciate as much, we have to find and use those, just as we have to find and use the beautiful colors or the colors that appeal to us, the colors that resonate for us. And as we put this vase back together, we weld it, we knit it together with gold, so that the gold might sometimes completely cover those small pieces. It might create a scene that comes right across a very beautiful flower or drawing of some type on the vase. And it changes it in such a way that we can appreciate not only the image that's restored, but we can appreciate the gold that holds it together. And we know as we're piecing this vase together that it represents who we are, our effort to put this vase back together is like putting ourselves back together. And that when we have this misshapen piece, a piece that's sharp-edged or of a strange color, we can appreciate how it fits in the pattern of the vase. And as we knit this vase together, if we think about what it means to put ourselves together as human beings, where we look at all of the parts of our being, the parts that hurt, the parts that are tender, the parts that we don't understand, that are reactive or difficult, the parts that seem selfish or immature. And the gold that we put ourselves back together with is love and compassion. We respect ourselves. And as we respect these different parts of ourselves, the strength of that knitting together is enhanced and it grows. And that web of broken pieces that comes together as one is restored to a different kind of beauty, but beauty nonetheless. Beauty that reflects a different lens to see ourselves. And when we put this part of ourselves back together, we're rejecting the old lens that was given to us to see the world and to see ourselves. We're choosing to look at ourselves with wholeness and love. We're choosing to mend ourselves with a kindness to our own being, to appreciate the multifaceted parts of us, the parts of us that we don't know how they hold together the whole, but they're necessary to fit in the structure of our lives. And we know our value and our meaning as human beings is in our wholeness. We know that if any part of us is rejected, we lose that wholeness and the fullness of that value. And we know that when we look at ourselves in this way, and we remember the words that Jesus spoke about doing greater things, we can see that those greater things are things like our ability to be whole, our ability to heal ourselves, our ability to heal ourselves both psychologically and spiritually, our ability to live according to values that the world doesn't always recognize, values that run against materialism and political opportunism. That in our wholeness, we can reclaim our spiritual heritage, that we can be less dependent on others and stand in our wholeness and our completeness before each other and appreciate all of the colors in our being. So we mend ourselves together with compassion. We mend ourselves together, understanding that we have dignity as human beings. And we remember that we are never less than any other human being. We remember that we are loved for who we are, and that who we are is enough in every place and time. Thank you. And I believe that we have a hymn change in our bulletin.
Number 56.
So this is our time for sharing our prayers, our concerns, our celebrations, and anything else that we'd like to share with each other. And in the spirit of Lorraine's request last week, let's make sure if we have a prayer that perhaps we can articulate that prayer as well. I have two that I would like to start with. One is I wanted to offer a prayer of thanks to a friend of mine, Yossi Amram, who helped create this conference that Stelly's been working in all weekend. It's a conference on engendering love, about healing relationships between multiple genders and understanding how we can love and appreciate each other. And the word that I get from Stelly during this is that there is really a lot of healing that is going on between the people that are attending this conference. And it just took a lot of effort and hard work, and I think a lot of love to put this together. So I just wanted to recognize him for doing that. It's just been very special to hear some of the stories that have been coming out of that. The other prayer that I'd like to offer is, I got a message last night that Aaron Tim's father, Reverend Lowell Tim, passed away yesterday. And Aaron was able to go to Milwaukee to be with him. And Sandy, when she texted me, she said that she knew Lowell or Reverend Tim would have been so pleased to know that we would pray for him and his family. And it's always such a meaningful thing when our parents transition. I know that Aaron and Sandy appreciate our prayers and would like to offer prayers for all of their family. And I'll leave it to Rover for you to handle either online or in the sanctuary.